All right, we are live. It is Jake here. It is a crispy Thursday morning here in the Baltimore County area. Woke up to the news that's on everyone's mind that Marlon Humphrey, Ravens all-pro cornerback, just received the bag. He got a 5-year contract extension worth $98.75 million. Wanted to jump on here, do something a little bit live, maybe get a little bit of a video up because we were recording the podcast last night, had a little bit of a tumultuous recording sesh. Garnet, what's up, man? We're going to get to that at some point, but had a little bit of a tumultuous recording sesh last night, a lot going on, but it's good news to, in fact, wake up to tonight as I see everyone rolling in here into the comments. But yeah, good news to wake up to this morning, I should say, with Marlon officially getting the bag at 5 years, $98.75 million. And yeah, just wanted to throw something up quick, a little bit of a reaction to it. So it's interesting because it was either going to be him or Stanley. We saw the rumors swirling yesterday. Shouts to Rita, the NFL chick, at the NFL chick on Twitter. I think she was floating something on Twitter about how there was a big extension coming in the pipeline in Owings Mills. So obviously the immediate reaction was Stanley, Humphrey, which one of them is it going to be? Some other, contenders in there like, Tyus Bowser and whatnot. It's going to be both of them. I do think it's going to be both of them eventually, but yeah, it's him for now. I do kind of wonder what made them choose to go his route as opposed to Stanley, with all the speculation and whatnot that Stanley could make them more money in the immediate. So if they extended him, they could go and sign somebody, trade for somebody, do what they had to do. But yeah, man, they opted for Humphrey. I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense for where Humphrey's at in his career. I think he's very clearly top 3, top 5 cornerback in the league right now. So why would you not capitalize on that and, not risk moving forward in injury or anything like that? A ton of people chiming in the comments. Yannick about to get traded to, I don't know, man. Yannick, that's an interesting one. I feel like going to the Vikings, he kind of made his bet on that one. Now they're 0-3. Why can't we beat the Mofo Chiefs? Why can't we beat the Mofo Chiefs? So we're gonna touch on that in a minute too. But yeah, I think it maybe is a little bit of a direct reaction to that, but I'll let you guys know. But just having my morning coffee here, trying to clear my throat a little bit too. It's a little bit early in the morning for your boy. I usually wake up about an hour and a half before this to clock into work. But yeah, had to do this for my job as well. So hopping on here to talk about this, but where was I? Yeah, I was saying that we had the rumor swirling yesterday, and yeah, it wound up being Marlon. Really not surprising, but very cool. The numbers, I guess, were the first thing I wanted to touch on. 5 years, 98.75. So I think I did the math on that. Not a big math guy, but let me look into it. So if you break that down over 5 years, you get $19.75 million, which it just feels like that's not going to be the number. I'm about to have a morning blunt. Hey, good for you, man. Good for you. Enjoy your Thursday morning here. I can't really do that being on the clock with work, but man, enjoy yourself with that. But yeah, so it breaks down to 19.75 year over year. And I'm going to see if I can pull up the other highest paid cornerbacks, but I have to feel like that's immediately at the top. I don't know if anybody in the comments would know, but if you do, feel free to throw it in there. Pulling up Spot Track right now. Looks like they already have the story up. Is he the highest paid corner? Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. It feels like every time any big name player gets signed that they immediately become the highest paid player at their position. So I'm going to go ahead and guess that. Jalen. Yeah, it might still be Jalen Ramsey. I'm looking at Spot Track right now. I can't really get the number up in front of me, but I'll just search cornerbacks because Jalen did absolutely break the bank. Trending players, Marlon second. Okay. Yeah, okay. I'll take Garnett's word for it. Jalen 1, Marlon 2, Trey White 3rd. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So, yeah, I mean, Ramsey, it was kind of a unicorn of a contract for him. The Rams just wanted to keep him around. Okay, second behind Ramsey. Yeah, exactly. So he's second behind Ramsey, which that feels about right. I mean, I think Ramsey, as much as we love Marlon here, Ramsey's probably the better player. So kind of makes sense. But we do still need to see the final guarantee numbers anyway. These are just whenever these big contracts get thrown around out there, it's always just what I like to call the agent number. So they throw it out there. Agent looks good for getting his client X amount of dollars. In this case, 98.75. That's, pretty good. 98.75 million, 19.75 year over year. Pretty solid. I'd take it if I could get it. Probably never going to happen for the kid in my lifetime, but we'll see. Well, who knows with inflation, but the yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like an agent number, and it feels like it's going to come down by at least maybe a few million year over year. So I'm probably going to guess it's going to come down to around 16, 17 per year, maybe even a little bit less year over year. Guarantee incentive laden type deal, but who knows? I mean, that's something that everybody always immediately wants to find out, but for whatever reason, when Shefty and Rappaport and these guys start to break them, they just can't get that guarantee deal out of the agent. I think because the agent doesn't want them to get the guarantees because they want that agent figure to get out there first. So makes sense in that respect. But yeah, we do still have to wait to see those guarantees and see how it actually affects the Ravens cap, whether they front loaded it, back loaded it, whatever they did. I'm not totally sure. But it's one of those situations where you have a lot of guys that you still have to extend. So we can jump into that. So my second talking point is who's going to be next on the line. So you got Ronnie Stanley, who, people were speculating this could have been him. So he's probably obviously the next logical choice in this whole sort of racket of contracts that need to be handed down. You've got him. Tyus Bowser kind of sneaky in the mix. He's had a good start to the season, and he's a guy who, similar to maybe a Chuck Clark, could get like a 3-year contract, a lot of guarantees, just keep him around and keep him happy. And then Judon, I feel like I hate to be this guy, and a lot of people are being this guy after I wouldn't say unproductive, but unproductive in terms of sacks start to the year. A lot of people feel like Judon is just going to walk. I tend to be one of those people at this point as well, especially for the number that he's going to want. He's currently playing at whatever it is, $60 million. That's just not going to fly for a dude who's just not sacking the quarterback. So I don't think Judon's going to be there, but he's in the mix, regardless of what we think. Orlando Brown, he's a little young still, but he's probably going to be in line pretty soon. And then Mark Andrews from that same draft, also going to be in the mix. So yeah, there's a lot of guys. And it's like I wrote in my article. It's funny because Spencer and I both wrote it up at the same time. So we'll see whose goes up. But I wrote this as sort of the first domino in the new era to fall of players that are going to be getting paid. So Marlon's going to be that first one. We are going to see who that second one is. And I'm going to go Ronnie Stanley as my bet, partially because of the fact that we saw him as, this potential guy who could have received this contract in the first place. So yeah, my money would probably be on Ronnie Stanley, especially also for the fact that they can free up cap space for him. So that's probably what I would say. And yeah, I mean, as far as other guys, a lot of people were throwing Lamar around when the rumors started to come out, throwing Lamar for a new contract around. That actually can't even happen until next year, I don't think. So it's not going to be Lamar next, but he'll get his in due time. Third talking point, I wanted to hit Orlando 2 more years, and we'll see. Yeah, I mean, who knows? He's still a little young, but he and Andrews are definitely in the mix. I think Andrews is also going to be a guy that they're going to want to lock up before he really, really starts to price himself out. Unless maybe they just see him as a system type deal and they can, get another guy like that. But in my opinion, the Ravens have not had a tight end like Mark Andrews in a very long time. I think Heap was very good. But I don't know. I think he might even be on Heap's level, honestly. I think the guy's an absolute beast. And it would be kind of stupid and short-sighted to just say, oh, yeah, this guy's just a system player. We're going to be able to replace him with another third rounder at tight end. I don't think it always works like that. So I'd love to see Mark Andrews stay in the picture despite a tough game on Monday night. And I should probably stop qualifying that because every player had a tough game on Monday night. And that leads directly into my last and third point here, which is I really, really love the timing of this move. So they probably could have just done this and then waited weeks or months to announce it. And then where's Spencer? LOL. I just wanted to jump on here and do a quick live react. So I don't even know if he has the time, but he's had a busy week. So, it's just me if that's all right. I love the timing of the move because they probably could have done this and just waited a couple weeks or months or whatever, and then just announced it then. They did it. They stayed up until 2 a.m. apparently, which I tweeted I was up until 2 a.m. playing video games. So a little bit of a, dual lifestyle going on there, but they stayed up until 2 a.m. getting this thing done. And then they immediately announced it in the morning. So I think it's a good PR, good press move by them to announce it right now, because let's face it, this is probably one of the worst press, PR, media type weeks the team has had in a long time after their performance on Monday night. A lot of people clamoring for X, Y, and Z to happen, and they're not happy with the play calling, and the defense needs to be better. They need to sack the quarterback. They need to do this. They need to do that. it's it's just one of those things where I think announcing it is good for everyone, and it's going to give the team a little bit of warm and fuzzies ahead of their Washington matchup coming up here on Sunday. And I think it's going to fire the guys up in particular that are, on the line to get a new deal, because like we've been saying repeatedly over and over again, the Ravens like to reward their guys. They like to make sure they feel good about the organization, that they want to stick around for a long time. Garnett, Jake, you're the man. What system? Xbox, my guy. Xbox One. I'm gonna have to see about these new systems. A lot of people are clamoring for these pre-orders for the PS5 and the Series X or whatever it is. I'm never really one of those guys. I feel like you can usually kind of get them like a week or two after. So we'll see what happens with that. But Stanley probably next. Right now, I can see them letting everyone else walk, especially if Andrews doesn't. Yeah, they're not going to let everyone else walk, dog. Like, it's just not going to happen. Brian Billick came in to call plays. Yeah, Matt, or Matt Cavanaugh, who was Billick's offensive coordinator. Yeah, it's interesting. We're all over the place. We're talking game systems, we're talking players. But yeah, mainly I just wanted to say that I think it's a really smart and savvy move by them, and they are good with PR and everything like that, and managing those types of situations. So I think throwing it out there in a week like this where things are tough, and the way this team is constructed and has played for the last year, things don't always get tough. So I think it's smart to kind of throw this out there, get some good press, some warm fuzzies, make the players feel good, make the fans feel good. Everyone was really fired up this morning, really happy for Marlon, really proud of the team for getting this thing done. So in a week that covering this team, even in just the part-time capacity that I do, it's been not one of the more fun ones over the past couple months, because a lot of uncertainty, a lot of frustration, a lot of annoyance, and a lot of anger. To see something like this happen is just a good move. So I guess we can, with that, throw it over to the comments a little bit more proper. So Garnett says Judon pair walk. I'd say walk. I feel like it's always been that way. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me that Judon, as much as I love the guy and think he's a good player, it doesn't make sense to me that he'd make top pass rusher money when he's dropping back into coverage and doing all these different things. And that, honestly, that kind of makes him more of a plus player than just a guy who's going to rush the passer and not get sacks. But that just doesn't, to me, feel like a guy that you pay Myles Garrett money, which he's probably going to be looking for. Better question, Bowser over Judon. So I don't know if it's like a 1-to-1 necessarily, because I think Bowser's probably not as good of a player, but he does some similar things, and you could probably get him for a lot cheaper. So I'd say definitely go ahead and go for Bowser. Devin H. Eric DaCosta, don't play. He will pull that trigger. He will. What's that that shitty song, Click, Click, Boom? He's just ready to click, click, boom at any moment. He likes to extend his guys early, likes to make them feel good, and he likes to have the guarantees ratchet up a little bit in order to allow the timing of the contract and in order to avoid backloading. He likes to, juice those up a little bit. So yeah, like I said, we'll see with the guarantees, but it's a 5-year deal, so it's probably going to be spaced out a little bit more. Super 8. Bowser is better at rushing and better in coverage. I don't know about that, man. Like Judon, he hasn't had the most productive start to the season, but he's still a really nice player. And Bowser, underrated. It's taken him a little bit of a learning curve here to fully catch up. Bowser is more explosive and has hand technique. You're just breaking the film down over there, man. I love it. Going to my little coffee here, as it is 10:08 a.m. here in Baltimore County. Are there any good pass rushers in this upcoming draft? So this is kind of embarrassing to admit. I know nothing about the draft right now, other than like maybe a few of the QBs. I'm typically a little bit plugged in, but I'm not a huge college football guy, so I don't know all the big names. I usually do know all the big names going into the season, but I don't know like some of the guys that fill the draft out. With the way everything is going on with COVID and is college football even going to happen, I really haven't stayed plugged in. So I'm going to probably try to start plugging myself into that a little bit more. And I think one of our favorite guests, Connor Rogers, is a draft expert, developed a little bit of a relationship with him. So we can kind of get him on whenever we need to. And I think we'll probably do that at some point for a little college football talk. I still think we need another wide receiver. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think so here's the thing, like it depends on what they want to do with, I think, Duvernay and maybe to a lesser extent Prochet. Do you want to just try and get those guys involved into the offense a little bit more? Because I think that could help. I think Duvernay in particular could be a guy who could get into this Roman offense, do some of these, levels type of concept, get himself open. And then once you get him in open space, like we saw on that kick return, the guy can make some plays. So I want to see Duvernay get involved, maybe get a receiver. I was kind of thinking about Sanu, like, would he be a good option? But he's obviously off the market now. And then we talk about having another receiver. Listen, they were flirting with Dez pretty hard over the summer there, and nothing came of it. So it depends, I guess, entirely on what you want. And I don't know, Dez definitely doesn't have the juice that he used to have, but he has sort of that dog, competitive mentality that would have, I think, been good in that Monday night game. So maybe a guy like Dez you could bring in on the cheap and see what happens, because to this point, I think the receiving core does need a little bit of extra juice. Greg Russo from Miami, still raw. Okay, I'll look into him. I used to watch Mike Mayock draft. I used to as well. Really, really big fan of Mike Mayock. That's my Mike Mayock impression. I like Mayock too. I actually think he's doing a good job in Oakland and now Vegas. We don't have a number 2. We just have a plethora of number 3s, a bunch of slot guys. Duvernay can be our Golden State. Listen, Golden State's a good team. He has an RB build and superb hands. Yeah, no, like, here's the thing. I'm not ready to give up on this group. I think Hollywood still very much can be a number 1. He put in the work this offseason. It's been a little bit of an up and down start to the season, but we can't even remember, or we can't forget that in week 1, he had a really good game, looked okay in spurts in week 2. And then, he disappeared on Monday night, but so did the rest of the team. Lamar didn't hit him on a couple of throws. Only big names I know in this draft is receiver Jamar Chase. I do know that name. Some of the top QBs, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, some of these guys that are just sort of carrying over a little bit. Yes, agreed. We need someone like Bolden, someone aggressive to move the chains. Yeah, sure. Something like that. I mean, you don't want to call these guys number 3 receivers, I think, because they do have some skill, but you are right in the sense that there are a lot of slot guys. And then Boykin is the guy who we always talk about it. He has like the build of a perimeter receiver, but he doesn't necessarily play like one. He's more of a finesse open space dude, even for a guy who's like 6'4". I think if you look at his athletic profile, it makes a little bit of sense that he would be the track star type player. But yeah, he deserves it. He deserves a gratulation. I always say congratulations. Golden Tate, I meant to. Yeah, I know you meant go. I'm just messing with you. It's hard to judge the receiving group when they are not being used in the game plan. Here's the thing. Like, I understand like wanting to contextualize everything against that Monday night game, but the way I look at it at this point is the entire team just brought their C- D+ game. They all did. They all played poorly. The O-line played poorly. The backs played poorly. Lamar played poorly. The receivers played poorly. Andrews played poorly. It's just one of those things. You just burn the tape, and they're going to be fine moving forward. I mean, and yeah, like to your point, Garnet, the play calling wasn't great either, going away from the run as early as they did. And some of the weird passing plays that they were calling, it was a lot of like, oh, just line up and beat this guy one-on-one. Like, where's the creativity is my question, and where's the aggression to throw for the 6 when you need to? So they had that 3rd down play call on the first drive that they stalled out, where I think they threw it like 3 yards short on 3rd and 3. They threw it like to the line of scrimmage to Snead, and he just got blown up. And it's like, what is going on? What are you doing? We need to explore using Boykin, how the Raiders are using Waller. Huh. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, like, the fact that they don't have that 3rd sort of explosive option at tight end, I think maybe you could move Boykin to that, but it's a little bit of a Maddenism to just be like, oh yeah, just move this guy here. There is some intricacies that we don't typically or don't totally know about that could maybe hinder him from doing so. But I think that's an interesting point, because Boykin has shown himself to be a very, very good blocker, especially on that kick return by Duvernay. He actually got the block that sealed it if you go back and watch it. So Boykin's a beast with the blocking, man, at least for a wide receiver. And I think he does have the skill set that could maybe make him a nice, intriguing move tight end. So I think that's actually a decent idea. Boykin ain't a dog. No, I don't think he is a dog. I think you're right on that. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, and he can still be a productive receiver, but he does not have that dog mentality. I wanted the Ravens to sign Jarvis Landry or Allen Robinson when they were free agents a few years ago. Yeah, they, from what I understand, they were looking into Landry. I mean, I say that like I know anything. I think it was just being reported that they had a lot of interest in Landry. And yeah, it just didn't come to fruition. The Browns just had shit money to work with that offseason, and they used it smartly to go and get that guy who's very good, and I think he would be good in this offense. Allen Robinson, I think he was totally priced out of their range to begin with. The guy was just going to get absolutely paid, and now he's maybe a little disgruntled there in Chicago. So we're going to see what happens. I don't know I don't know what this move does to free up cap space. I don't think they had money to really trade for him to begin with. I also don't think Chicago is going to want to trade for him. I mean, they're 3-0 right now. They didn't expect to be there, and they just got a new quarterback. So I think the fact that Foles is in the mix there now is going to change things for both the team and for Robinson, who's maybe going to want to see what Foles is all about. So it's interesting. Receivers don't want to come here. Yeah, no, that's horseshit, dude. Like it's they want to play with Lamar. Like let's put that to bed. But as far as like guys that are readily available right now, I mean, it's Dez and who else? I mean, if anybody has any ideas, feel free to throw them in there. But I don't know. Like Golden Tate was a guy I would have looked at. Like we mentioned, Duvernay maybe has some of that same skill set. So it's interesting. And I think it'll come down to this Humphrey contract, how much money it necessarily frees up. And yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. But is Alshon Jeffrey still injured? I don't think so. But he actually might be because the Eagles are playing like absolute doo-doo. Alshon Jeffrey. Okay, so Eagles placed Jalen Reagor on injured reserve. Alshon Jeffrey is limited in practice. So yeah, he's still a little injured. We need a pass rush. We're doubling down on that position in the draft. Maybe go for 3 between outside linebacker and interior pass rush. Julio Jones or Antonio Brown. I love the optimism there, dog. I'm going to go with neither. I think Julio is going to be way too hard to pull off, and Antonio Brown is a psychopath. Devin H says, really, in reference to what? Jeff just stated it frees up $1 million for this year. Okay, yeah, so that's really not that much. In my opinion, if they're going to use that on anything, which I'm not sure they are, it maybe would just be Dez, whatever veteran minimum you want to give him, bring him in, which – like to the point I've been making, I don't think they're going to overreact to this quite to the degree that some of the fans might be. I think they're just going to burn the tape, say they had a shitty game and it's fine. And I think that's kind of fair, honestly. I mean, like we're sitting here fretting over what just happened on Monday night. And to be fair, they had a great game in week 1. I think they played pretty well offensively in week 2 in a tough game on the road. And I just feel like there's no need to overreact. Like, there always has to be this big reaction. Something has to change, X, Y, and Z. I just feel like that kind of isn't the case, and that's not how smart organizations do things, whether it be I'm going to fire a guy after he had a bad year, we're going to get rid of the quarterback after he had a bad year, we're going to give up on this receiver group after 3 games or one tough game against the team that you're maybe going to have to go through the Super Bowl for. I understand that's pretty big stakes, but at the same time, like, you're talking about however many weeks in between now and that potential rematch, which we don't even know is going to happen, could happen. That's plenty of time for these guys to develop, find their groove. So to your guys' point, I understand the idea of bringing in another playmaker, particularly a receiver, but the most I would do is probably Dez at this point. Is Ziggy Ansah still a free agent? I think he signed somewhere. Let me look him up real quick. They brought him in for a visit, I think, or they tried to last year. He's in San Francisco, apparently. Okay. Color me shocked. I didn't know that. Interesting. I believe Justin M is going to improve our pass rush significantly. He'll be activated this Sunday. Yeah, I could see that. I feel like it would be a good time to get him going, especially with I think the pass rush has been more productive than everyone's saying, but they haven't gotten home, which is an issue, especially against a guy like Mahomes. That's really going to kill you. I'm a Lamar stan, but we will never get a premier free agent receiver. We have to get lucky through the draft. Listen, man, that's how it's always been here. Like, receivers get paid funny money, and the Ravens just don't have that to work with year over year. And I think guys do want to play with him, but the money's just never going to work out, and that's fine. And get lucky through the draft. Listen, DeCosta's drafted, I think, 4 receivers so far. I'm pretty excited about all 4 of them. So, we could be a little more optimistic, I think, in Eric's abilities to scout and draft these guys. Maybe give more use to Duvernay and Prochet. Maybe stop the run by committee and let Bus cook Dobbins. Yeah, that's an interesting point too. I think people are a little concerned about the running back by committee, especially with the fact that Ingram is maybe lost a little bit of juice from last year with some of the injuries that he's dealt with. So yeah, let Gus cook. I've been throwing it out there. Get him a lot more involved, especially when he's breaking up the middle and he's having all these physical runs, just looking like a really good fit with Lamar. He always has. So I think getting him more involved is kind of a no-brainer at this point. Get Dobbins involved too, man. He used a fucking second-round pick on the guy. Like, please get him more involved. If DaCosta pulled off a Julio trade, he would be the GOAT, LOL. Would Clay Matthews or Suggs help the pass rush? I think the Suggs thing is that ship has sailed. Like, they wanted him back in 2019, and I don't want to say he spit in their face because it was very amicable and everything, but he didn't want to stick around, and I think it's just a little, I don't know, it just feels like a situation where I'm not into that personally. I don't know about you guys. It's like, I think he should retire at this point. Clay Matthews, he had 8 sacks last year. Like, I didn't realize that at all. So maybe he's a guy you could bring in, and he could at least help you bring the QB down a little bit. I don't want to mortgage the future either, but AB would be cheap. You could still turn the tables. Worth the risk. He's not worth the risk, man. Like, I'm sorry. Like, the Ravens just, and it's not even like a thing about risk. The Ravens just very clearly post Ray Rice have a certain image that they want to put out there about the type of players that they have, and AB directly conflicts with that. So it's not going to happen. Give him a chance, bro, and let's see how he does. Yeah, no, I'm not going to give him a chance. But if they want to do it, I mean, that's on them. But I personally wouldn't. I feel like the few times Bowser and Judon were lined up together on the edges, we got good pressure. Yeah, potentially. I mean, like, exploring with different looks and stuff like that, probably going to be key moving forward. They did try some weird stuff this past week where they were doing all this interior stuff and leaving the edges just wide open, which didn't work at all because you have to get home and sack him if you're going to do that, because that's some of the plays where Mahomes rolled out and, he scored a touchdown on one of his rollout. He converted a critical 3rd and 10 on a rollout and run. So you got to be kind of careful with how you mix that up, but I think it'll work against other quarterbacks, not Mahomes. Me too. I'm just saying landing a free agent star wide receiver is the pipe dream, and that's what everyone wants. LOL. Yeah, I mean, I think I wanted that when, Flacco was absolutely floundering and just he showed no ability to, like, raise other guys' games. I think Lamar raises other guys' games to a certain extent, so it's kind of not really what I want anymore. I just want them to draft guys, develop guys, and keep them on the cheap and not have to worry about paying them. So that's just where I stand on it. I mean, if that's what you want, I'm not going to tell you that's, not legitimate or anything. And maybe they will. I mean, listen, man, receiving core, maybe you could use a star number 1 guy, whatever you want to call it. I still think Hollywood has very good number 1 potential, but yeah, we'll see. Ryan Kerrigan in last contract year, and that team may be going nowhere. Yeah, I just feel like we've had this Kerrigan conversation for like the last 3 years, and just nothing has come of it. Not only Kerrigan, but Ryan Anderson, some of these other guys. I think Snyder never wants to give up on the idea of his team winning. And B, I don't think he wants to give up one of the few bright spots of his organization over the past decade in Ryan Kerrigan to the team just up I-95 that has done literally everything better than you over the last 20 years since they've come into existence. So I think that's kind of a personal thing with Snyder, but that's just me. Good thing it's only week 4. Yeah, it's week 4. They'll be fine. They'll figure it out. I think fans are overreacting. I feel as if we just need to tweak some things on our team, and our coaches need to start calling better games and tweak their play calling. Feel good about our team. I'm with you, man. I think, it sucked that they lost in the way that they did, but the way I've been rationalizing it to myself, and I think I said this on the podcast, is that they went out there and they played their D+, C- game, lost by 2 scores. It wasn't a good game. It wasn't particularly close, but I still feel like that with the talent this team has, with the great coaching that they have, I still believe both of those things are very true. I think if they bring their A game, they can take the Chiefs down. So we'll see what happens. And listen, it might not even be the Chiefs. Anything can happen in the playoffs, as we saw last year with the Titans. So anything can happen. We'll see. We're going to have to play catch up against Chiefs by throwing. Miles Deuce Snead, not enough. Yeah, maybe not. I don't know, man. It just feels like we can say that right now in a vacuum, but who knows with development over the course of the season and usage and, some of the concepts that Roman incorporates. Who knows? We're trading one of them backs before the deadline, maybe. Okay, guys, we're running on half an hour, so it's been really enjoyable sitting here with y'all, having my coffee, talking a little Marlon Humphrey extension and everything else under the sun. Just wanted to throw this up here because we recorded the pod last night. We typically do Thursday, but our guest, Chick Hernandez, had to go for Wednesday night because he has a PGA Tour broadcast he has to get to today. So, we have that episode up right now. Check it out on any of your RSS platforms. Spotify, Apple, all that jazz. Check it out. Chick was a really, really fun guest, DC sports legend. So he's able to break down this matchup between the Ravens and the Washington football team. And he talks about a lot of other fun stuff too. He's a really fun guy, really awesome guest, one of my favorites we've ever had. So Check that out today at Baltimore Beatdown Podcast. Check me out on Twitter at Jake Louque. That's Louque. You can feel free to follow the podcast at Podcast Beatdown, and follow the website at Be More Beatdown. And keep checking the website for more writing. Going to be throwing my dossier article up tomorrow, and we're going to be talking a little Marlon Humphrey today, I'm sure. So be sure to check it out. You guys have yourselves a good one, and I will talk to you again very soon.